Elimination match. Team Foley against Team Punk. Wait a minute. I'm a couple weeks late. We had Team Ziggler, of course, and we didn't even have all of Team Ziggler. They switched that up a little bit, too, because of Cody Rhodes' injury. Team Ziggler ended up being Dolph Ziggler, Alberto Del Rio, Damien Sandow, Wade Barrett, and filling in for Cody Rhodes was David Otunga. But we had the full team of Team Foley, The Miz, Orton, Team Hell No, and Kofi Kingston. I was saying beforehand that I really hated how they switched this up and made it Team Ziggler because it defeated the whole purpose of the entire elimination match. Foley had nothing with Ziggler. So the only way I could see that they could have kept that going and made it worth the while is if Paul Heyman would have came out and they could have kept that little thread going between Heyman and Foley and Heyman and Punk and everything. But alas, no Paul Heyman, so it just became this random elimination match, which it's better than nothing. I'd rather have two elimination matches that don't mean anything as opposed to none at Survivor Series, or the way that they've rumored over the past few years, no Survivor Series pay-per-view at all. But I like this match a whole lot, even though I was kind of annoyed that no expectations of mine ended up being fulfilled. I don't think anybody eliminated anybody that I thought they would. So I got a big fat 0 as far as predictions go with that. But and in fact, I even thought that Team Foley was going to win. So despite my total lack of predicting it, I did like it a whole lot. And one of my favorite parts actually was even before the match, where earlier in the night, when they ran their little backstage vignette about the teams arguing and everything, and Foley decides to get everybody to get together and put our hands together and shout out Team Foley or whatever. Randy Orton just walks by. I hate you. It was just so good. And I noticed during this match that they're calling the souvenir the bull hammer now. I kind of like the souvenir.
Yeah, same here.
But oh well, not too surprised because they switched that up all the time too. He's not even using Wasteland anymore.
Yeah, no.
But the lineup of the eliminations, let me double check that before I forget. Damien Sandow eliminated first. I was a little disappointed with that because I really think Sandow deserves a lot more than they're giving him right now. He should be a future Intercontinental Champion as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Otunga should have been the first one. No, that's who should have been the first one. I mean, that guy is terrible. I mean, they added him at the last minute, which was a big disappointment. I mean, I love Cody Rhodes, and they couldn't have put him back in due to his injury. But David Otunga, I mean, I guess he's the only significant guy or legitimate guy on the roster at the moment that they could have put in there that people would have recognized. But even still, I mean, he was out quickly anyway, so they should have had him out first rather than Damien Sandow, a guy that actually has talent and potential.
I was thinking when they first announced that Tunga would replace him that this match would start off and they'd have not necessarily exactly like this, but maybe something like Otunga starts touting himself as like, "Wow, I'm going to win this for the team," and he wants to be the first person that's tagged into the match, and then bam, he gets eliminated right off the bat. I thought that they'd kind of do it like that, and it's always better to have the heel as the one that looks like an idiot than a babyface. So
exactly.
I thought that they'd kind of go with that route, but instead they decided to just very quickly eliminate Damien Sandow, and oh man, that was just that was a huge disappointment to me. But then right after that, because now there's nobody to feud with Team Hell No, they go right into the Daniel Bryan and Kane arguing with each other, and I thought this wouldn't happen until at least 2 eliminations into it, but Ziggler hits a zigzag on Kane and eliminates him. Really good spot with Kofi Kingston flipping Ziggler. I don't know how the guy does that, but he just sells everything like fantastic.
Oh yeah, most definitely. They seem to do that move every single time they have matches together, from what I've noticed, which is really awesome. Because I mean, as we all know, Dolph Ziggler is an amazing seller, and he just pulls that maneuver off perfectly every single time. That monkey flip. That's definitely a sight to see if you didn't see it at Survivor Series.
I think probably the ultimate match of all time would be if we had Dolph Ziggler against Shawn Michaels in just like a selling match.
Oh man, most definitely.
Just put Ziggler the way that he does things, and then get HBK in one of his Hulk Hogan moods, and that'd be the funniest thing in the world.
Oh yeah.
Then we had Otunga eliminated by Daniel Bryan, who made him tap out with the no lock. Although I think Michael Cole called it a yes lock again, but if they're going to call the bull hammer and the souvenir and everything, it's good to get confused every once in a while. Then
Lavelle lock.
what was that?
Better than calling it a Lavelle lock at this point.
Yeah, if he did that, then he'd really need to start double checking his notes. Wade Barrett hits the Winds of Change on Kofi and then lands the bull hammer and eliminates him. And of course, right off the bat from there, you could tell that they were going to go with some kind of an Intercontinental Championship feud. So that's not too surprising. Del Rio eliminates Daniel Bryan with the arm breaker. Miz eliminates Wade Barrett with the skull crushing finale. And then this was the point in the match where I figured, all right, now we've solidified the fact that the Miz is going to be one of the sole survivors. Maybe Randy Orton gets eliminated and it's down to Miz. But, next thing we know, Miz gets eliminated by Alberto Del Rio. It's just enziguri'd over the head, and he slinks away, and that's the end of the story. I was like, oh, man, they really didn't put any focus on Miz. I thought he was going to be kind of the highlight of this match. I was a little disappointed with that.
Yeah, same here. I mean, as you said before, you thought Team Foley was going to win, as did I. I mean, going into this match, The Miz, I think, was the most focused superstar in this match. I mean, his whole potential face turn, and I think they really needed to solidify that, and the fact that he's, a face now and whatnot. And, I mean, I know they showed tension between Miz and the other teammates, but having him eliminated so anticlimactically against Del Rio didn't make any sense to me. I mean, as you said, I wanted to see him as one of the sole survivors if Team Foley was to win. I was a bit disappointed that Miz was eliminated so early on, as far as Del Rio goes. But then they ended up having, Dolph Ziggler win, so I was fine with that. But again, yeah, his finish or his elimination wasn't well done because, as you said, there should have been more focus on Miz going, in this match itself as much as it was going into it.
At the very least, they kind of, I guess, made it up to us by having Dolph Ziggler eliminate Randy Orton after Orton eliminates Alberto Del Rio. So if you were going to give it to anybody other than The Miz, then I'm not hoping it's already done, but I was hoping that it would be Dolph Ziggler, because if they would have just given this to Randy Orton again, I would have just walked out of that just thinking, oh my God, not again, because Orton does not need another win like this. Dolph Ziggler, that's going to help him a whole lot more than it would have with Orton.
Oh, yeah, I would have been extremely disappointed if that happened.
And the weirdest part out of all of it, though, I got to say, is Ziggler wins with a super kick.
Absolutely amazing.
Great super kick, and everybody that I was watching the pay-per-view with just immediately started marking out for that, because we always make our comparisons between Ziggler and HBK, and we all miss HBK and everything like that, so Ziggler's the next best thing as far as the current roster goes, and for him to win with a super kick, especially out of nowhere, since he hasn't been building it up as like a move of his or anything to use as a finisher, but he pins Randy Orton out of all people with a random super kick, and that was like kind of like the cherry on top as far as this whole thing goes.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I mean, I think if that didn't happen, this match would have been so-and-so, but the finish really made the matchup. It was a big highlight in the career of Dolph Ziggler. And I was mentioning this as it was happening, but a fun fact was that 5 years ago, from this pay-per-view on November 18th, 2007, Survivor Series 2007 event, Randy Orton versus Shawn Michaels for the WWE Championship in a match where the Sweet Chin Music was banned from the matchup, and Orton ended up retaining. So he had to defeat Shawn Michaels, or Shawn Michaels had to face Orton in that matchup without using the Sweet Chin Music. Fast forward exactly 5 years later, Dolph Ziggler uses that same scintillating super kick to defeat the Viper to pick up the win for his team. So I thought that was poetic justice right there. But as far as the victory goes for the Bleach Blonde Superstar, an amazing victory nonetheless. As I just said, it can make a career. And after the week that he just had, I mean, going forward, I mean, with his not burial of John Cena, but I mean his attack on John Cena this past week on Raw, his big win over The Miz on Main Event, and his win over Randy Orton tonight on SmackDown. What a hell of a week for Dolph Ziggler. I mean, this guy is being primed to become the world's heavyweight champion. And I mean, a lot of people, myself included, were complaining over the fact that Dolph Ziggler hasn't been booked correctly since winning Money in the Bank. I mean, he's been a great performer on the mic and whatnot, but he's been losing so many of his matches. And then that's what's been happening in recent years with the Money in the Bank winners. I mean, we complain all the time about the Money in the Bank winners losing going into their championships.
Daniel Bryan, The Miz,
exactly, and then they were being booked as crappy champions when they eventually won the championship. Jack Swagger being the prime example of that. I mean, being such a shitty champion in 2010. But I mean, it's great to see Dolph Ziggler finally being booked correctly. I mean, it could be shit going forwards, but I mean, as far as this goes, this past week, especially starting with Survivor Series, huge win for Ziggler and a big team win for Team Ziggler. So that was absolutely amazing and one of the biggest highlights of the Survivor Series pay-per-view overall.
If anybody's going to check out rewinding the pay-per-view and you missed the pay-per-view and you want to check out some of the highlights, definitely check out the elimination match. I got to say that was probably the match of the night.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. I mean, the action was solid. Aside from the fact that, I mean, as you said before, I myself was too aggravated with the fact that they switched it up. I mean, Team Punk versus Team Foley would have been great. But, I mean, I guess I understand the route that they ended up taking. So if they went with this route originally, I wouldn't be as upset. But the fact they changed it a week in with only less than 2 weeks until the pay-per-view didn't make much sense to me. But what we got was amazing, so I can't complain about that. But my only problem with this matchup, or one of the few problems that I had with this match, was the fact that Mick Foley didn't serve a purpose at all. I mean, he hit one Mr. Sacco and Ricardo Rodriguez at ringside, which got a nice pop from the crowd. But aside from that, he didn't do anything.
Yeah, there really was no point in Mick Foley even being out there. They should have just kind of scrapped that angle from the beginning.
Exactly. And another thing I failed to mention as well, I mean, one purpose that he did serve in the event was the fact that when Randy Orton, this is where the finish came in, when he was going for the RKO and decided to go for the punt instead, Mick Foley was obviously disappointed following the matchup given his facial expressions. That was awesome. I mean, there's a picture of that on WWE.com with Mick Foley looking down at Orton when Orton's sitting down in the turnbuckle following the loss. He's looking extremely disappointed and unsure of himself. Those kind of pictures speak 1,000 words to me. I mean, the picture of Cena after he lost to The Rock at Mania, I love those kind of pictures. Those guys do excellent jobs of, selling their loss and the disappointment and losing to their opponent. And Mick Foley and Randy Orton did just that. I mean, it's been rumored over the past week that it could have been a foreshadowing of Orton's potential heel turn, which would be amazing. I'm not getting my hopes up as of right now because, I mean, they have a lot of faith in Orton as a face. But, I mean, Orton himself, when they know that he himself wants to turn heel, I guess they eventually do have to get to that point, especially when in a time when we're at a stunning lack of legitimate heels, especially with The Miz going face at the moment. Having Orton go heel would make sense. So instead of – I mean, this is another thing, too, I wanted to talk about. Going into the event, I don't know about you or whatnot, but a lot of people were speculating that Orton could potentially turn heel.
Right, yeah.
Was screwing over Miz.
Yeah, it was either is the Miz going to stay babyface, or is he actually going to just be the mole inside of the team, or is it going to be Randy Orton that turns heel and the Miz actually did stay babyface the entire time? Like, there was a lot of speculation going in with that, and I was kind of leaning more towards, if anything's going to happen, the Miz will just stay babyface and that'll be it, and kind of focus on that. But at the same time, when they started doing that punt, I was thinking to myself, oh, all right, they might be up to something here when he was going for that, because you don't have somebody go for the punt when he's the babyface if you don't have him doing the punt the entire time. Then again, of course, it might have been just because Linda lost her campaign. But I don't know. I think that might be setting up a little bit of a heel turn. But at the same time, I can't think of who they could possibly have Orton face at WrestleMania this year if he does turn heel.
Yeah, I mean, with that being said, I mean, I don't know about another Orton-Miz feud with roles reversed. Maybe that would be interesting. I was thinking maybe if Ryback doesn't face Big Show, you have Ryback against Randy Orton. He can say, "Feed me Morton," if that makes any sense. But I mean, if Orton was to turn heel in this matchup, I'd be like, okay, that's cool. But, I mean, the fact they're foreshadowing it makes it all that much better. I mean, they did the same thing with CM Punk earlier this year going into his heel turn. It wasn't completely random. Everything had a purpose, from the backstage segments to his GTS to The Rock to his slow burning heel turn. That looks like what they're doing with Randy Orton. I'm a huge fan of that kind of stuff.
Me too.
So it's not all that big of a shock when he eventually does turn. So I'm really enjoying the way they did this. Just planting the seeds for a potential heel Orton heel turn. So I'm looking forward to that, and they did a great job with the finish of this matchup.
And then that's going to bring us into part 10. In the final part of this episode, we will talk about the CM Punk, Ryback, and John Cena WWE Championship Triple Threat match.